Good day, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today we have an update on the $1,400 stimulus check for seniors, and we have a lot of updates to cover. See, all of this began when Bernie Sanders proposed a $1,000 stimulus check for seniors to help them cover medical costs until Medicare is expanded. Then groups in Congress started pushing for a $1,400 stimulus check to increase that to help seniors even more. Well, now they're trying to include it in the next stimulus package, the American Family Stimulus Plan. Press Secretary Jen Psaki just gave an update on where negotiations stand today, so we have a lot to cover. Let's discuss the details in this video, but first, do me a huge favor, like this video, hit subscribe, and share this channel with anybody who you think might find this helpful. I also have a second channel, so please go ahead and subscribe to my second channel. The link to that is going to be in the description of this video, and on that channel we cover updates as well, but we mix it in with things like playing bingo, playing the lottery, and even some stimulus check giveaways as well, so please subscribe. I really do appreciate your support. Okay, so this is a really big week for stimulus. First of all, Congress is finally coming back from vacation. If you look on your screen, these yellow colored dates means that both the Senate and the House are going to be fully back in session. And Nancy Pelosi is trying to get this stimulus package done by the end of October, because really we only have 3 weeks left with both chambers in session. If you see these next 2 weeks in October, then the first week of November, then for the most part, they're gone for the majority of November and December, either on vacation or back home trying to fundraise. So it's really important that they get this stimulus package done either by the end of October or the beginning of November. But if you watch my channel, you know that a realistic deadline is really this first week or two of December, because that is when they try and fully leave for vacation, and it also coincides with the debt ceiling crisis, which is expected to hit once again on December 3rd. Jen Psaki gave a quick update on where negotiations stand today and what is happening with the stimulus package. She reported that Joe Biden has been holding even more meetings than before, and the sense of urgency seems to really be sinking in with Congress. And she's talking about Bernie Sanders, Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema, all of the liberal Democrats and all of the moderate Democrats and everybody in between are showing a bigger sense of urgency here to get this stimulus package done more quickly. Now, she also covered what Biden is doing to manage the relationship between Bernie Sanders and Joe Manchin, as these two have been butting heads and having a war of words. On top of that, they asked her what is going to be included in this stimulus package, because Joe Manchin has said, we're not doing a $3.5 trillion stimulus package. He wants to do a $1.5 trillion package. And Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden recently said, you know what? We're going to have to compromise with Joe Manchin, and we're actually not going to have a $3.5 trillion package. And they're aiming for something around $2 to $2.3 trillion. So with that happening, some things might get cut out. And Jen Psaki was asked, what is going to be cut out and what is going to be included? Will they include the $1,400 stimulus check for seniors? Will they include the monthly stimulus checks for families? Will they just lower the senior stimulus check to $1,000 instead of $1,400? And President Biden also said whatever doesn't make it into this current stimulus package will be included in the next stimulus package in 2022. So this is the stimulus check that seniors have been waiting for. We need this $1,400 stimulus check to take care of seniors, to take care of those who are on SSI and SSDI, to make sure we are helping those who are disabled and those who are seniors and have paid taxes their entire lives. Again, President Biden promised all of these things. This is not something I'm making up. This isn't some kind of liberal wish list. This is something that President Biden promised on the campaign trail and is one of the reasons he won the election, because seniors voted him into office. Seniors voted for Biden in really strong numbers and is one of the main reasons he won this election. So now President Biden has to keep his promise. But the question is any of this stuff going to make it in this next stimulus package, or are we going to have to wait until 2022 for the next package? Because honestly, I mean, we've been waiting about 9 months, and he still has not increased Social Security benefits. He still has not done the specific stimulus for seniors. So as negotiations continue, we'll have to wait and see. But Jen Psaki just held a press conference answering some questions to give us some insight as to what is going to be included in this current stimulus package, what is happening with Joe Manchin and Bernie Sanders, and the fact that President Biden has been holding a lot more meetings this week, and there seems to be a lot more momentum towards getting this stimulus package done more quickly. So let's take a look, see exactly what Jen Psaki had to say, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below.
Okay, I have a update for all of you on some of the president's outreach and engagement as it relates to Build Back Better and his legislative agenda. He spent the weekend continuing his deep engagement on behalf of his economic growth agenda for the middle class, speaking with members who represent the full spectrum of views of Hill Democrats about the pathway forward on both his human infrastructure and physical infrastructure plans. He spoke, as I think some of you reported this morning, with Representative Jayapal at the White House, and we'll have a number of additional conversations by phone with members of both chambers and who also run the gamut in terms of their views as we proceed through the course of the afternoon. Tomorrow he will host 2 different meetings with House members here at the White House, one with moderates and one with progressive members. We're encouraged by the accelerated pace of talks and are eager to get this done to meet the urgent needs of families who have been contending with high costs, outdated physical infrastructure, the increasingly devastating threat of climate change, and a tax system that gives special treatment to the rich and corporations at the expense of middle-class families, no matter how hard they work. As you also saw, we also announced this morning that on Wednesday the president will travel to Scranton, Pennsylvania, going back home, some might say, to continue to rally support for his bipartisan infrastructure deal and Build Back Better agenda. There continues to be strong, broad agreement in Congress and among Americans of all stripes, political stripes, about the values at the core of the president's agenda, ensuring our economy works for the middle class, not just those at the top. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. I just want to see if you can elaborate a little bit on something you just said, that you're encouraged by the accelerated pace of talks on infrastructure. What changed? Is there something that's different now?
The president is certainly feeling an urgency to move things forward, to get things done. I think you've seen that urgency echoed by members on the Hill who agree that time is not unending here, and we are eager to move forward with a unified path to deliver for the American people.
Does the sense of urgency have anything to do with the president's trip coming up in just a matter of 8 working days? Does he feel the need to get this wrapped before he leaves?
The good news is that there are phones and video conference capabilities overseas for every president and individual, so I'm not here to set new deadlines or timelines. But it is also true that we have been at this for some time. The president proposed these plans back in the spring. He has participated in dozens and dozens of calls, of meetings, of engagements with members to hear their viewpoints, to understand where they're coming from, to reach consensus. And we are at a point where we feel an urgency to move things forward, and the pickup of meetings is a reflection of that. Go ahead.
Does the president feel the need to mediate the current war of words between Senators Manchin and Sanders we've seen play out?
To mediate the war of words, I would say the president has been in touch with both senators, not to mediate words, but to better understand the path forward and what are priorities to each of them. And he will continue to play that role.
And then 2 quick ones on policy. Senator Manchin has been pretty clear about his position or opposition to a clean energy standard for a while now publicly. Presumably that's given your team time to try and figure out workarounds to that. Does the president still believe he can meet his emissions goals if a clean energy standard or CEPP is not in his final proposal?
Well, President Biden has been clear about what he supports. 100% clean power by 2035 is a goal he committed to over a year ago. As you all know, that's why I think you're asking about it, and he remains committed to it. The good news is there are a range of good ideas and proposals out there from members of Congress about how this legislation can help meet that goal. And there's no question in our minds. There's important debating right now happening about what the components of the climate proposals will be in these packages, that these packages will have a historic impact on addressing our climate crisis. I'd also note, can I say one more thing? I'd also note that the president also has not waited for legislation. He has led the shift toward electric vehicles. There are components in these packages that also will help move that forward. Phased out super pollutants like HFCs to greatly reduce emissions. Made across government investments in clean energy like offshore wind and solar. Made historic commitments to use every lever at his disposal to advance environmental justice and spur economic opportunity. So it is absolutely pivotal that these pieces of legislation have climate components, and they will, to address the climate crisis, but he has also not waited for that. He's also taken actions of his own accord.
And then one more, one of the critical pay-fors in the package is tax enforcement. And we've discussed this a couple times the last couple of weeks, but given the scale of the ramp-up we've seen from the banking industry in opposition to the proposal you've laid out, what's the sense from the White House in terms of the pushback against that, or if they're concerned about the future of that proposal?
Well, it should not be lost on anyone that the loudest opposition to these proposals and the biggest ad spending against them is from the biggest banks who simply do not want to be bothered by additional reporting on inflows and outflows. That should not be lost. We can certainly get you the numbers, or it's publicly available out there on how much money is being spent and how vocal this opposition is. I would note that the top 1% is responsible for $163 billion a year in owed but unpaid taxes. So this proposal we're talking about is about preventing high-income individuals who are not typical wage earners, meaning they don't get paid through standard payroll, W-2s. The vast majority, I think it's something like 97% of wage earners, are paying the taxes they owe. We're not talking about that here. We're talking about the highest income individuals, 1%, who are responsible for $163 billion a year in owed but unpaid taxes. There are discussions, active discussions, I would note, with Senator Wyden and others in Congress about how to ensure this is absolutely targeted at those who evade tax obligations, including on the cap and potential exemptions. But let's be clear what this is about. It's about big banks deciding to protect wealthiest Americans that get away with not paying the taxes they owe by fighting this common sense solution, and we want to be clear about that.
Jen.
Go ahead.
Thanks. I wanted to ask about another marker that Senator Manchin has kind of put out, which is that he wants to cap the child tax credit to families making under $60,000 a year and add a work requirement. I know that you've said previously that the White House is okay with some means testing of these programs. You don't want to negotiate from the podium. That being said, this represents what would be a pretty dramatic scaling back of what's been a signature part of the president's legislative accomplishments so far, and something that he and the vice president have touted pretty publicly. So to echo Phil's question on climate in some way, is this within the realm of possibility? How do you guys react to Senator Manchin kind of throwing down this marker?
Well, I'm not going to react directly to Senator Manchin's point of view because that's not particularly advantageous at this point in the negotiations. But I will say the president proposed an extension in the child tax credit because he feels that it is something that can not only help families make ends meet, it can help bring more women back into the workforce, and it is a vital part of his proposed packages. He has also, in the past, supported and continues to be open to supporting what can be called means testing or can be called caps on income, and there are a range being discussed, but I'm not going to speak to it further than that.
And secondly, there's been a couple questions from my colleagues about Senator Manchin and markers that he has laid down, which he's done publicly. Senator Sinema, who's also a crucial person in this dialogue, has done...
All members are crucial, I think they'd argue.
She's done a little bit less of that publicly. There's been some consternation as to what her wishes and demands are in this. Does the White House have a good understanding of that? And if so, is it sharing that with congressional Democrats?
There are a range of conversations happening behind the scenes. I'll let these senators outline their proposals, what they support and don't support themselves.
But on the White House side, do you guys know what she's wanting to be in or out of the bill?
Again, we'll let them all speak for themselves. I'm not going to confirm or give more details from here on their positions.
For you. Sure. So another comment the president made on Friday was that he was convinced that the spending legislation was going to get done, but they're not going to get the $3.5 trillion. We'll get less than that, but we're going to get it. And then he said, and we're going to come back and get the rest, end quote. What did he mean by we're going to come back and get the rest? Does he mean another reconciliation bill next year? What did he mean by that?
He wasn't giving predicting a legislative vehicle. I think what he was conveying is we all know this is less than 3.5. There are discussions and negotiations in Congress about what that will look like, and things that are not included in here, he will continue to fight for in the future.
Okay, and you mentioned a bunch of meetings that the president
Yeah.
is having, virtual or calls. We saw
Yeah.
him go up to Capitol Hill. Has he given any consideration to Terry McAuliffe's recommendation that he just sit all the leading lawmakers in a room and say you can't leave until you get a deal done?
The president's been doing this a while, 36 years in the Senate, with all due respect for the recommendations of anyone outside, and he's going to continue to work with Democratic leadership about having the kinds of meetings and engagements that will help move this across the finish line.